Reviews, you're watching our video first look and a quick review of the WearPi Smart Bluetooth Fitness Tracker. It also features an optical sensor that can detect your heart rate and your blood pressure. It has a fairly impressive OLED display that you can see has a larger size than previous models we've seen in the past and sells for around $21 on Amazon, which is a fairly low cost. It actually competes with the Xiaomi Mi Band 3 series and the Mi Band 2, of course, that offer similar functionality, and this one, of course, has a slightly larger display, which may benefit folks if you want to read a few occasional notifications and you want a more traditional looking watch. Of course, it also will give you, your time. It also tracks your steps, your calories burned, distance, stuff like that, in addition to your sleep, so that it tells you how much time you've spent in light versus deep sleep. And there's also a sedentary reminder function. So after you've been sitting for about 30 minutes, it's going to vibrate and tell you to get up and to move. So it uses Bluetooth version 4.1 to connect to your Android or iOS device and comes in three colors actually. Again, the display is 0.66 inches diagonally, which is a bit larger than your average fitness tracker, and it's also IPX7 certified, which means you can submerge it underwater. So if you're washing your hands, taking a shower, going to the beach, you can still wear it without having to take it off. This is the proprietary charging cradle that it comes with. It uses a simple USB port to plug into a power bank, a computer, or into a wall charger, and it will fully charge up in under 2 hours. It will last for roughly 4 to 5 days on a single go before you need to recharge it, and if you have Bluetooth turned off by disconnecting Bluetooth on your phone, the standby mode will last you for about 7 days. So it's not quite as long as something like the Amazfit Arc, which I have here, that lasts around 20 days on a single go. However, this is pretty average for a model that has a larger display and also a heart rate sensor embedded. The contact pins themselves will align pretty precisely onto the back of the watch, and you can see that this is a unisex one-size-fit-all band strap that's made out of silicone material. It's really comfortable and easy to wear. The size of the fitness tracker, though, again, is a little bit larger just because of the larger screen. It's more of a wider display, you can see, compared to a traditional fitness tracker, which is thinner, but again, it's a different look, and if you do like what you see here, it certainly provides a different alternative to the segment of fitness tracker we've seen already. So on the front here, there's just access to a capacitive key that you can tap on for a few seconds to cycle through the various modes. And again, on the back, there's just the heart rate sensor along with the contact pins for charging and some basic info about the model number. Cycling through the features on the watch, you can see that the surface area of the display is actually quite generous, and it's also quite visible. Now, using an OLED technology means the battery consumption is good. However, it still fades away a little bit under direct sunlight. Maybe it's because the screen here is so large, but as a result, I found that sometimes the brightness wasn't quite as high as competing models I've seen in the past. The watch here can be shown in 12 or 24-hour modes. There's also the battery status located on the bottom and the time and date information and the Bluetooth status. Next, I can take a look at number of steps I've taken, number of the distance converted after steps. Then there's the heart rate function. So if you wait and hold still for about 20 seconds, it's going to continuously read your heart rate. And what's interesting here is it doesn't stop. It still continues reading even as I'm recording right now, which is a function that I think is pretty cool. So once you sync it to the app, it's not only going to record that one data point, but it's going to continuously record it in a graph format. Next, I can take a look at the blood pressure. And what blood pressure really does is it uses the heart rate sensor, and then it approximates your blood pressure using a conversion algorithm. So it's not a medical grade sensor, but it is within the same kind of rough scale. And you can also see your heart rate at the bottom and then the converted kind of blood pressure as your estimate. So it's not the most accurate thing in the world, but it does work, and it's relatively close. So you can still keep an eye out on what's happening within your body and then know if something has gone really awry to go in for a checkup. So that's really the point of that. Not the most responsive thing in the world, but it works. And there's also a sleep monitoring function that uses the accelerometer or the gravity sensor to detect if you're in light versus deep sleep. And then there's also your Find My Phone function, if you saw the last icon there, that allows you to kind of activate the app on your phone, and the phone itself will vibrate. And then you can find your phone, and also using the app, you can find your watch if you've misplaced either one. So it's pretty easy to use. You can see the larger display size definitely will help for showing notifications if you want to come and look at a quick missed call or a few lines of text, it definitely helps to have this larger size. Otherwise, it also has a vibration function, so it's going to vibrate whenever you get a new call, text message, or if you have the sedentary function turned on. So all in all, pretty easy to use. Capacitive key here is actually pretty sensitive and easy to tap on, and there's also a gesture mode where the display will automatically turn on when you flick your wrist, which is also pretty nice as far as the software is concerned. The software, speaking of, is called Wear Fit, and it's a pretty generic app, but it works pretty well. The first time when you boot it up, you just search to connect to the watch, and it's very easy to find. The watch is turned on Bluetooth automatically, so you simply need to tap on it to pair, and afterwards you can see the main menu here is fairly simple. You have access to a number of steps, sleep, you have your heart rate information, blood pressure. There's also a blood oxygen level that is a bonus feature supported on some models that the company produces. And of course, there's also a quote happiness rating or a fatigue rating where you can set your own happiness level or tiredness level in a scale and do this manually each time you take your heart rate, and that records that as additional source of data. Obviously, this is a lot more subjective, but it's a nice kind of mood scale that you don't typically see in some of these fitness trackers. It's a nice little bonus. The tab on the side here gives me an indicator of how much battery is remaining, my user profile. I can set up my stride length, my height to recalibrate and make the tracker a bit more precise, and also a health kind of weekly data that summarizes what happened in the past week. I can use this to take an image using using this as a selfie remote once connected using Bluetooth, which is a nice function. So I can pose with family and friends and then simply tap on the power key once to take an image. Of course, I can also use this for timing specific modes like runs. I can also take a look at the band, the software firmware, and then of course then update the firmware if an update becomes available. So all in all, it's pretty easy to use. If I tap on the heart rate, for instance, I can also take a look at the real-time recording just by tapping on that. And since we're connected using Bluetooth, it's going to record my heart rate, and then after a few seconds, it's going to pop in onto the phone's display. So overall, it's a pretty clever system, and everything works as expected. Your data is recorded pretty well. You can also share your data with friends and family using social media if you want to. Other features like pedometers in terms of steps and calories burned, of course, can also be monitored, which also works pretty well. So as far as accuracy is concerned, I have to say it does a decent job. The accelerometer on here is a decent sensor. I have to say, if you shake your hands around, it doesn't accidentally trigger as a step, so it still remains fairly faithful to how many steps you've actually taken, as you can see in that demonstration. So it does a good job of actually staying calibrated and connected to the phone. And there's only one concern I would say is that the app itself is fairly limited as far as giving more advanced data and information. It offers a very simplified user interface, but at the same time, you can't really dig deeper. It's not intelligent in the sense that it's going to track, your patterns and then give you a notification if something odd has popped up, and it's not going to actually tell you, your heart rate is beating faster than normal. Maybe you should take a closer look. It simply just records that in a easy to see interface. So it's not the most advanced app in the world. It works. Again, it's nice and intuitive, perhaps to give to an elderly or give to first-time fitness tracker folks. It's not overly complicated, but again, you don't get any extras out of the packaging. However, I have to say that as a whole, we are fairly impressed with this fitness tracker just because the cost is low, the display is larger than expected, and again, you have a number of features on here, from heart rate to blood oxygen to your blood pressure. Even though they're not the most accurate things in the world, maybe when compared with a medical grade sensor, they still work and gives you a approximation of what's happening within your body, and again combines all these sources of data to really help you closely monitor and know if you're exercising correctly and how much you're moving, how much you're maintaining your daily health. So you can check out more details about this in our official written review, but for now we think that this is a pretty good budget option if you're looking for a fully featured fitness tracker that has a slightly larger display. So thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. This has been our review of the Wear heart rate monitoring, blood pressure, and blood oxygen level fitness tracker.